Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Eric and I like to read, and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap up. So, in the month of January, I actually read quite a few books. It was very productive for me. I finished my TBR early and even got started on my February TBR before February. I mean, the day you're watching this video, it's going to be February 1st, and I've already completed one of my February books. So, I'm super excited about that. So, the first book I started off for in January was Heartstopper Volume 3. I went into this one first because I wanted to start off the new year with a good book, and I knew that this was going to be a really good book. Of course, you can probably guess why I rated this. Yes, I gave it another 5 star. I have loved this series so much, and I can't wait for Volume 4 to come out sometime this year. I'm not sure when, but it's supposed to be in the year of 2021. And I know Alice Oseman is working on it right now, so I can't wait for that to come out. This graphic novel series is just so light and fluffy, and it just has like all the cute vibes to it, and I adore it. So I just like, anytime I pick up one of these books, I just know that I'm gonna feel like so many emotions, and they're all good ones. So I really love this graphic novel series. Marcus actually got me volume 2 and 3 for Christmas, so that was a super awesome gift, and I was super excited when I opened that present, and I can say that the book is awesome. Then the next book I read might even be going on my worst books of 2021. It was the second book I read of this year so far, and I already know that I do not like it at all whatsoever. It was Delivering Virtue. This was a book that was sent to me from my blog, and I gave this book a 1 out of 5 stars, which is very rare. Like, I don't give many 1 stars, but this book had so many problematic elements to it that I could not handle it. It was so hard to get through. The way it was written, there were so many big words like used in sentences that didn't make sense. Like it was like they were trying to seem smart when they were writing certain things, but like it was nonsensical. Like it didn't flow well or work together. So it was just really weird. There's also a part in this book that I say there's a part in this book, there's multiple parts in this book that are so wrong and just bad. This book had a scene with bestiality in it with the main character, and the whole point of the bestiality is because he couldn't get with a certain girl, so then because that didn't happen, he went and had sex with a goat. Like, what? Why would that be, like, why is that needed in this book? I'm sorry, that, like, it literally made no sense to me. And yeah, I don't like this book. The whole plot, there was no point to it. When I got to the end, I was like, that's it, really? We went on this entire journey to get to this one point, and that's it. And the main character themselves, I did not like them at all. Like, they were one of the most unlikable characters I've ever read in a book. There's also trigger warnings for rape in this book multiple times. So, like, that's also another bad part of this book. I have no really good things to say about this book, which is unfortunate because, like, I did get it through my blog, but I can't justify liking this book at all. And so, yeah, started off the year with a really good book and then a really bad book. So let's see what the rest have to offer. Next up, I read Frozen Beauty. And this was a book that was actually sent to me as an ARC from HarperCollins. I got this like a year ago, and so I was very delayed in reading it, but I'm so glad I got to it now because this book was actually really good. I was very pulled into it. I loved how they described the wintry settings and all the landscapes in the book. It was told in multiple perspectives of 3 different sisters, so it was really cool that you got to see like all the different points of view as they were working through trying to discover how one of these characters died. I also think that the teenage characters in this book were written very realistically, and they were doing things that like an actual teenager would do. So I give it props for that. I think that the ending touched on a subject that is not necessarily talked about very much, and I think that it was a good ending to have like a positive message. I also liked the portrayal of the family in this book, and it just like it felt like a very tight knit, close family, and I like books with that kind of family in it, or even a family that has like a lot of issues that they need to work through together. I think it's really nice to see that in a book and see families come together in hard times. And then, of course, there was one line in this book that I really liked where it said, "The truth always comes out." And I was like, yeah, that's just like so ominous and perfect for this book. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had Calamity by Brandon Sanderson. So, this is the final book in the Reckoners trilogy. And as many of you know, I was trying to read this in December, but I didn't quite get to it for my Reindeer Readathon TBR. So, I decided to read it in January and just finish that trilogy. And it was really good. I really like pretty much any Brandon Sanderson book I've read so far. I have liked. Like I have no really bad things to say about Brandon Sanderson. His books always pull me in right away, and they keep me going because they're always really like action packed. Well, at least in the books I've read by him so far, they've all been pretty action packed. This book had some really cool concepts in it, and I think that the way it was wrapped up was well done. There were some parts that were a little predictable, but not overly predictable that it was like taking away from the story for me. I still really enjoyed everything that was happening. And I do think that the main character, David, he always has these metaphors and he's always trying to come up with new metaphors. And it's throughout the entire series that he's just giving out like these bogus metaphors that just sound so ridiculous, but they're like, they make me chuckle every time I read them. And so I found that was like a nice element to the book because it was like adding that little humorous element into it. I think we need more like superhero style books like this. I mean, like this isn't really superhero, but like comic style books where there's like heroes and villains and that kind of thing. Like I want to know more books like that. So if you guys have any recommendations for something like that, put them in the comments down below because I want to read more books like this trilogy. And I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Not So Pure and Simple, and this is another arc that was given to me by HarperCollins over a year ago. So yes, I'm getting to it as well, finally. And I really enjoyed this book as well. This was a contemporary, and in this book, the main character is trying to go after this girl that he has a crush on. He has had a crush on her for a very long time, but she's the girl that like every time she's in a relationship and she gets out of a relationship, she's in another relationship, lickety split. And so he's like trying to get his in to finally get his shot at having a relationship with her. And so the only way he can do that is by joining this church group that she is in so that he can spend more time with her and get to know her better and try to shoot his shot. I think the journey in this book has a really positive message, and it's like the main character, like he kind of annoyed me sometimes because he's going so hard for this girl, but he's not really considering like what she wants at all. It's all like what he wants and how he wants to be with her, but he is like rarely considering the fact that like, oh, maybe she doesn't even want to be with me kind of thing. So that was a little frustrating, but at the same time I was like, okay, I remember when I was young and I had a crush on somebody, like that crush could be all consuming and it's literally like all you think about is wanting to be with that other person. Like I get that. That was an emotion that we definitely had when we were younger. And so I think that was done really well in this book, and I feel like he acted very realistically in that way. I think this book is also a good example of the power of friendship because there are a lot of strong friendships in this book, and there's like a lot of powerful bonds that people form together as the book progresses. And then, of course, the religion part was relatable because I also like grew up in the church, so it was nice to see that in a book. And it was also refreshing. It's interesting to see a different kind of church than the one that I have gone to my entire life growing up, and it was nice to read about it. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars as well. Then next up, we have another book that I got from my blog, and that was A Glimmer of Hope by Steve McHugh. I think that's how you say his name. I hope so. So this one's like an urban fantasy about a girl that discovers that she has powers, and then she uses those powers in some sort of way. I don't want to like give anything away really, so I'm just going to stop it at that. But overall, it was a pretty good book. Like I was pulled into it and I was intrigued by the different powers and like different elements that were thrown in there. I will say that the dialogue was a little like the same. It seemed like the dialogue kind of was recycled throughout the book and they had the same conversations or like came to the same conclusions about things quite often. So it made the characters kind of predictable in what was going to happen. But I still liked the origin story of the main character, and you got to get like some of her backstory and then like what she's going to do, and you could kind of see like where she's going to go. This is the first book in a series, so you can kind of see like how it's going to play out. I also liked how when they had action scenes in this book, or it got like into battles and things like that, it was pretty gruesome. And I'm here for like the gruesome battles, because that makes me know that like, yes, this is an adult book where they are not afraid to get into like the nitty gritty of it. I will say that the action scenes were very quick, and I feel like they could have used a little bit more detail so that the fights seemed more intense or more realistic, because I feel like they just like they went too fast, and so it was kind of not as like, I think I just wanted a more descriptive battle. That's all. Like, picture the movie Lord of the Rings. I want like that kind of battle described, if that makes sense. I don't know, but I guess they're like dealing with powers and stuff in this book, so it's different. But I don't know. The battles just seemed really quick. I did like them, but they just seemed really fast. Like I wanted more description in the actual action scenes. Anyways, it was a decent book. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. I also read One a Day Quotes to Destiny. This was actually sent to me by the author. And so I was reading this like over the month. I would just like pick it up in the morning, read a couple quotes, and then continue on with my morning coffee. That's all it is. It's just a collection of quotes that deal with life, religion, different things that like keep you going, like motivation, success, things like that. And yeah, overall it was a decent quote book. I don't really like have a rating for it. It was just a book that like I picked up, read a couple pages, put down, and did it daily. And yeah. Then I read Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, and this book was really good. I liked it a lot. It was like a creepy graphic novel with a bunch, like a collection of different like macabre or like mysterious stories, and I loved how creepy they were, and they always had like a very creepy ending. So I liked that a lot, because I hate when it's just like a perfect ending where everything's happy-go-lucky and it's all like great. In this one, the endings are not great, and it's just like, it's awesome. I loved it. I gave this 5 stars. I don't really give like too detailed reviews on graphic novels, but like the art style is really cool in this one. It plays a lot on, as you can see, red, white, and black, which was cool. And I would definitely be interested to read more of her graphic novels if she has any more, because I really enjoyed this one. Now jumping into books that were already I've already completed for my February TBR. So one of them is the Aquaman graphic novel. This is volume 4, Death of a King. It was really good. I would probably give this one a 4 out of 5 stars, just because there was a lot of action in this one and a lot of battles. And that's what I'm here for. When it comes to like Aquaman, I want to see all the underwater battles and like the Atlanteans fighting with whoever they're fighting with. I just want to see it. So this one did come through for that. And then the last book I have is The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. So this is one that was on my February TBR, but like I was very excited to jump into it. So I picked it up and just started reading it right away. And I read it in a day and a half because it's told in verse, so it's really easy to get through. I honestly flew through this book. And this, it was interesting because this is like a very character driven book. And I know that I just said that like I don't really get along with character driven books as much because I just read Addie LaRue, but this was a different story. Like I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. It was such a good book. I didn't feel like it dragged at all. You followed the character from like when he was very young to in his early 20s, and you got to like see this character grow up and come into like the person that he is. And it was just, it was written so beautifully. It was just, I loved it so much. And one thing that I really appreciate about this book is that it talks about coming out on your own terms and nobody else's. And I think that was just absolutely amazing. I think that's such a good positive message to have in a book. And I think that young adults need to hear that. And I think that they should pick up this book because it's just, it's very inspiring, and it's just, I love this character. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm just like lost for words at how great this book was. The book also deals with racism and internalized homophobia, so it hits on those topics as well, and it brings a light to something that we need to talk about, and that's what I really enjoyed about this book. It was just, it was such an enriching read, and I think that a lot of people would get a lot out of this book if they picked it up. Also, it's written in verse, so it's very easy to get through. If you want a book that's not going to take too long, this is the one for you. You will fly through it. I thought it was going to take a little bit longer, and it only took me a day and a half. I think that if I actually sat down and tried to read this in one sitting, I probably could have. It's just, yeah, it was good. It's a really good book. And those are all the books I read for January. If you have read any of those books and you want to talk about them, definitely hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you thought about them. Or if you had any books that popped out in January that were really good for you, let me know, because I'm always down for some more book recommendations. Anyways, if you want to support me, I have a Patreon and a Ko-fi page, which I'll put in the description down below. You know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button so you get notified when I post videos. I post my videos on Mondays and Thursdays. And until next time, keep on reading.